Our livestock guardian dog, Willow, has been jumping our inside and our perimeter fence, which has been causing some issues. And we're gonna take a look, thank you, Willow. We're gonna take a look at a temporary solution. Little buddy and I had to come inside the outbuilding because it was so windy outside. The noise would be a little bit too much for the camera. But here's the situation. Over the summer and fall, Willow and Blue, our other livestock guardian dog, were able to patrol the property. We had no issues at all with the dogs leaving. I kept the main gate shut and there were no issues. But starting in late September, early October, Willow realized that she was able to jump our fence. So even if I kept her within the cattle panel fencing where the dog shelter is, she was able to jump that fence, and then she would jump the perimeter fence. And at first, this really wasn't a big deal because she would just go over to the neighbor's house and she'd stay really nearby. We live at the end of a dead-end road, so there's no through traffic, there are no issues. However, in the last few weeks, Willow decided that she wanted to start wandering further, and she was going down the county road and visiting neighbors who didn't want her around. One of the neighbors threatened to shoot her if she came back around again. Obviously, I don't want her shot, and I don't want her getting hit by a car wandering down the county road, so I am trying to figure out a solution to keep Willow in, at least for the winter, until we can get something more in place for next year.
I hope that the fence will keep her in and not let her escape, so she doesn't go get shot in.
As a temporary emergency solution, I have had Willow on her lead and her leash so she can't jump over the fence and leave the property. Again, this is for her safety, but having a dog hooked on a leash is certainly not a long-term proposition. This is something that we need to fix. I was looking at the PetSafe buried electric fence unit that you can get that works with a shock collar, so if they get near a perimeter line, it'll give them a vibration and then a shock, and you can train the pet to stay away from that area. However, there are two concerns. One, we had a lot of snowfall. It has since receded. We've had some warmer weather and it's melted back. But the other concern is if Willow is chasing a predator, then she's gonna have difficulty respecting those electric boundaries when she's in pursuit mode, and I don't want to set her up for that kind of failure. So for right now, until we figure out something better, I'm going to be going through my scrap wood pile here to try and build up some height to the cattle panel fence. There was a sad incident with one of my cameras. I'd set it on top of a T-post to start filming me putting up the horizontal bits of the fencing modification I'm doing. And I was carrying in a long piece of lumber, and the edge of the lumber clipped the camera on the T-post, and down it went, right into the stock tank full of water. Shortly thereafter, a snowstorm rolled in, and that made me call it quits for the day. It's been a couple days now. I have sadly not been able to revive my camera. I'm hoping once it fully dries out, I'll be able to use it again. So far, that's not been the case. Happily, I have this backup camera, so I'm still able to film. I do have some good news though. I did finish the project. Check it out. Basically what I did here, on the parts where it was just metal, in the cattle panels or T-posts, where I needed some vertical posts, I just screwed 2 pieces of wood together tightly so it's really squeezing on this cattle panel here, which gives it a pretty solid grip. And then I just screwed on the wood to the top of the vertical post there. And when I got to the pallets here, I was able to just screw directly into the pallet since it's wood on wood. This right here is the only part that gives me a little concern because Willow actually climbs the pallets. I've never actually seen her do it, but I've heard her do it. I can hear her claws scratching up the wood here, so I'm a little concerned that she may be able to climb and then slip through this gap here instead of trying to go over. In the parts where there's cattle panel, like over here, she doesn't climb this, so she just clears it. But I think this right here is going to deter her from trying to jump over. For this part, I may have to find some more wood that's buried under the snow to put up here, just to kind of plug this gap here so she doesn't crawl up. These horizontal beams here are actually inset from the fencing just a little bit, and I'm hoping that also deters her because she would have to go back and over to get over it. Willow, come here, girl. Come here. I'm gonna take that leash off you. Come here. I'm gonna take the leash off of her now. We'll see how she does with this. If I have to make any modifications, if she makes it out at all, then we'll address them. But for now, we'll just let her off the leash and see what happens. There you go, girl. Come on, Willow. I don't think she's gonna try and jump the fence at all when I'm standing in here. She waits till I'm gone usually. It's usually when I leave, when I get in the truck to go somewhere, is when she makes the jump out. So I'm just gonna hang out with her for a couple minutes, make sure she's cool with things, and we'll check back later and see if she's still here. I checked on Willow periodically throughout the day yesterday. 20 minutes in, things were still going fine. An hour in, things were still going fine. I checked on her last night at around 11 p.m. She was still in here, everything was great. But this morning, when I got up to make breakfast, I looked out the back window and there was Willow wandering around our backyard. By the time I got my boots on and got out of the house, she had already jumped the perimeter fence and was in the neighbor's property. I called for her and she jumped back over the fence and came right back to me, so that went fine. But quite sadly, she is back on her leash and lead for the time being. So this fence system as is, fail. There are a couple options I have here moving forward. One would be, of course, to build up more fencing. But I think option number 2 might be a little easier, and that would be to add a single strand of electric poly wire going across the top of the fencing. So that would keep Willow, again, hopefully, from wanting to go over.